sometimes it's helpful to write data in a table format, and just to give us an example here. Let's go with the 111, 22, 2, 2, 3. All right, so that's, those are easy enough to write out. However, if I organize them in a table here, here's what it's called a frequency distribution, because what you do in the table is you put the values usually over here on the left, and then the frequency over on the right. And by frequency, all that means is the number of times that value occurs. In your distribution here. And so in this case, I've got, as far as values goes, I've got 1s, 2s, and 3s. And in the frequencies, well, 1s, I've got 3 of those. 2s, I've got 4 of those. And then 3, I've got 5 of those. So it's just organizing the data into a table. So be sure to understand that. Now, when I have, okay, so let me put up another frequency distribution here. And let's say this one, let's go with value 19 and 20 and 22, 25, 26, and 28 are my values. And then the frequencies, all right, so I've got 2 of the 19s, 3 of the 20s, 5 of the 22s, 7, 4 of the 26s, and 2 of the 28s. Okay. So let's talk about statistics on a frequency distribution. Now, the 3 we've talked about so far, the mean, median, and the mode. Hopefully easiest of all 3 is the mode here, and again, it's just understanding the table. So from this distribution, what is the mode going to be here? The most frequently occurring value. 25, okay. So, yeah, I would have 25 would be the mode because it occurs 7 times. All the other values occur less than 7 times. I mean, 22 has 5 of them, but the mode here is 25. So that, when you have a frequency distribution, yeah, that's an easy calculation as long as you know, of course, what you mean by the mode. It means the most frequently occurring value. 25 occurs 7 times, it's the mode, okay? Now, the other 2 things can get a little more complicated, so let's talk about that. Let's talk about the mean of this frequency distribution right here. Okay. Unfortunately, yeah, I can't just add up these values because that would say I've got 1 of each of these. That's not the case, is it? No, to get the mean here, to get the average, again, the average is adding up all the values. And one way I could do it is I could write out, 19 plus, got another 19, then I got 320. So I could, by hand, write out all the values, get that sum. But let's try it maybe a little easier way here. When you've got a frequency distribution, the mean is usually called, also could be referred to as a weighted mean. Because the values have different weights. Like 19 has a weight of 2, if you will, 20 has a weight of 3, 22 has a weight of 5. They're weighted differently, the values are, so that's why it's referred to that. But here's how we can calculate this. Now, another way of doing this is instead of adding up 19 2 times, couldn't I say 19 times 2 instead? And then I could say 20 times 3, that'd be another way to get that 20 plus 20 plus 20. Yeah, so what I'm going to do for the top is I'm going to sum up all of the values times their frequencies. For the top, 19 times 2, 20 times 3, 22 times 5. Much more efficient way of doing it here. 25 times 7, 26 times 4, 28 times 2. So that's the way I can get, I need to add up all these values. And so this is another way to just sum up all the values times the frequency. So it's kind of like we did on the P of X table. Yeah, so we're just going to multiply each of these, then add all that together. Now the other thing is, all right, so when I do the mean, I divide by the total number of values. Right? When I do the mean, I divide by the total number of values there are. Well, again, the total number of values here is not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 values, is it? Because each of these values has more than one of each, right? So no, when I do from a frequency dish, the total number of values is going to be the total of this column, isn't it? It's the frequency column that I add up. That's how, when you're doing from a table, you're going to add up the frequencies, and that'll give you the total number of values there are. With me? Because there's 2 of these, 3 of these, so that gives me 10, 17, 21, 23 values altogether. With me there? So there's not just 6 values, there's 23 values because this adds up to be 23. All right. So that's the way we get the mean for X bar. In this particular case, so what do we got? 38 plus 60, 22 times 5, 25 times 7, 26 times 4, and 56. 543? Anybody else get that for the top here?
Yeah.
543? Believe that? All right. And divide that by 23, and so that gives you the mean. 23.6. We okay with that? All right. Okay, so we got one other one to calculate from this. Let me. I'll just do a new one here. Same one. Fresh copy though. What was it? 19.2, 23, 22.5, 25.7, 26.4. Last but not least, 28. Okay, so we've done the mean and the mode. What about median? Well, one thing I did not talk about earlier, meant to, but I forgot. But when you're looking at the median, so let me just make a smaller list here to talk about this. All right, so let's say I've got 5, 8, 11, 14, 17, 19, 1, 7. All right, 21. Easy enough to pick out the median there, I understand. The median is 14. What I wanted to say though was, there's a formula that when you get a bigger list can help you find that median. That the position of the median is what I'm referring to here. Which in this case The position of the median here is in the fourth slot. First, second, third, fourth slot is the position of the median. Well, the formula that goes along with that, we didn't need it there, but if we do need a formula, the position of the median is you take n plus 1 and divide that by 2. Now again, what did we mean by n?
Number.
Just the number of values there are. So if you look at this, this formula will give us position 4 because n here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, n equals 7. So if I do 7 plus 1, divide that by 2, it gives me 8 divided by 2, which is 4. So you see how that works? That gives me a position for the median. It doesn't give me the median, it just tells me where the median is. Now why do I bring that up? Well, because here, again, I can't look at these values to get the median because there's more than just one of each. So if I could figure out, first of all, the position of that median, that might help. Well, in this particular case, so the position of the median is always n plus 1 divided by 2. Like that formula shows me there. All right, and so n is just the number of values there are, and so again, this number right here is n. The number of values there are 23 values. So if I take 23 plus 1, divide that by 2, that gives me 24 divided by 2, which is 12. So the position of the median, it's in the 12th position. So if I can figure out which one's in the 12th position, I can do that, which, you know, I could just list them out and figure out the 12th one, that's fine. But let me show you another thing here. If we do what's called the cumulative frequency, that can help us also figure out which one is this 12th one. The cumulative frequency is just the frequency of the value plus all the frequencies before it. If they're in order, I mean, it's the frequency of the value plus all the frequencies of the values that are less than it. Put it a more wordy way. Well, I'm supposed to write bigger. All right. So here's what this is. So, you know, if nothing else, FYI. The cumulative frequency is the frequency of the value plus the ones before it. Now, so 19 doesn't have anything before it, so the cumulative frequency is still 2. However, when I get to the 20, the cumulative frequency is 3 plus the 2 before it, so that's 5. The cumulative frequency for 22 would be 5 plus the ones before it, so that's 10. 25 would be 7 plus the ones before it is 17. So if you notice, what we're basically doing is just adding, take this number and add the next one, right? So that gives me the cumulative frequency. It accumulates the frequencies, in other words. Okay. Well, how does that help me here? I'm looking for the position of number 12, the value that's in position number 12. That's the median. Well, what this tells me, for example, this cumulative frequency of 10 for 22, what that tells me is the last 22 is in position 10. With me? Because that's the cumulative. We've got 10 values to get to this last 22. So 22, 22, when I'm putting the list together, that last 22, that's in the 10th position. That's what that tells me. The last 25 is in the 17th position, right? That's what this means, as far as this median stuff. So which value is in the 12th position? If the last 22 is in the 10th position, the last 25 is in the, isn't it the 12th position at 25? 25 is the median. So that's one way to do it. Instead of you, another way is just list them all out and then, or figure this out and then just list them out and get to the 12th value. this gives you another option. Shall we try another one? Let's try one more thing. Okay, so let's say I've got value frequency distribution here, and it is value 10 has frequency 32, value 20 has frequency 28, value 30 has frequency 17, 40 has frequency 13, 50 has frequency 3. Okay, let's start with easy. What's the most? Most frequently occurring value? 10. Yeah, the very first one is the most frequently occurring, isn't it? It occurs 32 times, the rest are less. So 10 would be the mode. That's the value, not the frequency. The value is the mode. All right, what's X bar? Well, that's the mean, which in this case could be referred as the weighted mean. And so the way you do that is, yeah, you're going to add up all the values, but in this particular case, to add up all the values, you've got to multiply the value times its frequency, and then add those together. Almost have nothing. So add up all those, or multiply those and add them all up. And then we're going to divide. What do I divide by? There's not just 5 values, is there? The total number of values is the sum of this column, right? Which would be 93. Total up all these. All right. 10 times 32 is 320. 20 times 280. I mean, it's 20 times 20. Start over. 320. 20 times 20. 560. 30 times 17. And 40 times 13. And 150. I get 2060.
Yeah.
Know what y'all get? Divide that by 93. And so that's our mean, X bar we call it. Sometimes refer to it. That gives me my fingers will get out of the way. 22.15. Let's call it 22.2. Okay. All right, now. Median. Well, again, there's 93 values, so you want to list them all out, but let me go with it. All right, so the position of the median, you do the n plus 1 divided by 2, so that's just the number of values there are, which in this case there's 93. Plus 1, divide that by 2, that gives you 94 divided by 2, which is 47. So the median's not 47, it's in the 47th position. So if you want to write them out, get to the 47th one. Or let me do this cumulative frequency here to help me figure that out. So it's just adding up frequency plus the ones before it. So this one's 32, 28, 32 is 60, and then 60 and 17 is 77. 77 and 13 is 90, and then 90 was. So that's my cumulative frequency. Which one's in the 47th? Well, the first 10, the first 10s are up to the 32 slide, right? And then from 33 to 60, you got 20s. So what's the 47? Is it 20? 20 would be the in the 47th slot because the 20s run out to the 60th position. Okay? Is everybody with me? See where I get that? The first 32 are 10s. So the 32nd one is a 10. The 33rd one is a 20. And those go on out to the 60th. So the 47th one is right in there, kind of in the middle of that. That's all we're saying. Mean is going to be 20. Question?